but don't tell anyone I said that. Technology is really important, and obviously the world is becoming more and more digital. As you all know, and I think as Blue has quite politely, perhaps indirectly outlined, the insurance industry has not been at the forefront of digital transformation. We know consumer sectors, retail, etc., social media, communication, music, and all these other things have been at the forefront. Having said that, in the last 4 or 5 years in particular, I think there's been significant progress in the insurance industry, and I think where we see across all companies, real progress is in frontline customer experience. We're very front-end heavy in terms of customer applications, the need from a regulatory perspective to collect a lot of information and to ask a lot of questions is kind of not negotiable for us, right? So there's been a lot of progress from all insurance companies, and those represented here today, in terms of the frontline customer experience around how they apply for insurance, how they're underwritten, and things like that. If we compare across Asian markets, you'll ironically see in many emerging markets, Vietnam's a good example, Indonesia to a degree is another one, are leapfrogging, mainland China definitely, are leapfrogging more mature markets like Hong Kong, Korea, and Japan when it comes to digitization, because they're going straight to the point, and they've got less legacy systems to have to deal with than the companies in the mature markets. I think where there's a real opportunity for professionals, young professionals looking to move into the technology side of the insurance sector is in dealing with the big back office, the legacy issues. Big old systems that used to run on green screens. And you think about the data that an insurance company holds, often more than 100 years old, right? And in Hong Kong, if you look at Manulife, it's been operating for almost 130 years, right? So you think about all the data, all the possibilities, but the jungle of systems and tables and complexities around that. What a great challenge for young people who want to make a change, right? You can go and work at Apple and Amazon and do all those cool things, but if you really want to make change, in many ways you'll be joining a factory if you do that, right? If you want to make change, come to the insurance industry, because the demand for digital talent is immense, and the challenges are there and the problems are there to be solved. Thanks.
Thank you for your answer, and I was quite especially touched to see you try to recruit some of our younger students into joining the insurance sector.
Of course.
Well, moving on to Eric, what are some key lessons that can be learned from the historical development of the insurance sector in Hong Kong, and how can these insights inform career decisions made in the present-day landscape for certain aspiring students?
So, thank you, Blue. Do we have time to introduce ourselves a bit?
Sure, of course. Go for it.
Maybe I'll take this question to introduce myself a bit. Yeah? What happened in the past? Yeah? That can throw insights for you to take a career in insurance now. I have been with this very same company, or very same industry for over 35 years. This single company and this single industry. So when I first joined insurance, I talked to my boss. What's my future? Maybe you'll be like me. I randomly select a company and then got into insurance. And very interestingly, the general manager at the time of the insurance company talked to me like, "Oh, insurance industry is a sunset business, not sunrise, sunset business. Why are you joining us? Because as you know, insurance industry has been surviving on Earth for more than a century. Yeah." It's been a long time industry on the earth, I think created by the Brits in Europe at the beginning, yeah? When the Greek trades. Yeah? So he said, "Oh, this is a long time business, very old-fashioned. You have picked the wrong one." At the time, I worked for a group. The group of companies basically was called 𝗬𝗿𝗏. It's called 𝗬𝗏 now. And they have trading, insurance, shipping, properties. I was supposed to insurance division at the time. And so why you pick insurance division? There's a group trainee, and then I pick it by luck or by mistake. Yeah? And he talked to me like that. It's very discouraging, very discouraging. Yeah, as a trainee, just graduated from Chinese University in 1989. And then you know what? I've been surviving for these 35 years. And I've become the CEO of General Insurance of Zurich in 2012. And then I picked up the CEO role for our life division in 2016. And then became the chairman of China business in 3 years ago. So I have a very exciting journey in my career in insurance. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So in the past, we think that this is a very old model, very boring business. Maybe some of you think that it's a boring business, but I think it's, as Demon said, you've made the right choice to stay in this room. So it's not, actually. The world has been evolving, and a lot of industries have been evolving, just like tech, for example. We have a lot of new tech, a lot of new materials, a lot of new propositions, a lot of new risk. Because insurance itself is the management of risk. Yeah, I think for some of you may be studying that. And the risks have been evolving on the earth. We have geopolitical risk now. How do we handle all these different kind of risk in terms of protection for your asset, for your liability, yeah, for all professional liability, for example. So these are all evolving and need some new skills and new knowledge from time to time. Not to mention the tech to support this. So what I want to tell you, or tell you all here is, joining the insurance industry is an ever-evolving one. It's not anything like it will stop somewhere, because the risk on earth evolve. And that's the manager, our role, how to handle this risk for our customers and our clients, or even for our community.
Thank you, Eric. So it is interesting to hear how you went at the industry is ever changing from when you first joined, there was a sunset industry, to now where I'm sure there are multiple aspiring students who want to get into the insurance sector itself. Now, on the topic of manpower, a question for Julian. Traditionally, there are multiple layers of professionals involved in the insurance industry. How can experienced professionals in the insurance industry leverage their existing skills, their knowledge, to adapt to the changing demands of the modern market?
Thank you, Blue, for inviting me. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I've been in the industry for less than Eric and Damien. I joined 8 years ago as a frustrated consumer. So let me explain. I used to work in banking. I was in banking for about 15 years, moved to Hong Kong 11 years ago. And like many people, I was searching for insurance online, specifically medical insurance. And really, I think what I felt was that it is a noble function, insurance, that, like Eric said, has existed for the longest time, but it can be a very confusing process. So from that frustration, we turned it into a company. We're not an insurer, we are a broker. Think of it as a platform with actual people based in Hong Kong that help people find the right health insurance. That's what we do. That's just the background, and I think it will explain also how I see the industry, which I absolutely love, which I think has a great purpose, and how we think we can keep bringing talent and educate people about why it's a fantastic opportunity, especially in Hong Kong. Now, going back to your question, you talk about multiple layers. I'm not sure if you mean companies are overstaffed, or whether there's a lot of unnecessary layers, but what I would say is, to me, what's special about insurance is that it's an industry where in any player along the value chain, so when you look at people who make the products, the insurers, whether you look at the reinsurers or the people who distribute, there is a lot of different jobs involved. So, you can think of insurance to me as a place where you're not going to be bound by one area. You can really tap a lot of things. There's also new jobs really that didn't really exist. I think Damien highlighted the digitalization, which was long overdue. Even today, to say the least, it's underwhelming sometimes how the process works. There are some constraints, and yes, when you deal with health insurance, you have pre-existing conditions, a lot of things. I personally don't think that people want to do everything end-to-end online, especially for very complex or emotional purchases. But I would say that today, the industry has never been more exciting, because there are a lot of different areas where people in the past who may have been bored could not go, and today can go. Marketing has also evolved tremendously. I don't think we touched upon it yet. But if I see the channels that today exist for people to know about insurance, that to me in the marketing function makes it much more attractive. It's also an area where David, who sadly is not with us today, I think he was sick, but has been very involved at AXA on the marketing side. And marketing today, if you're a marketing professional in insurance, it's very, very different from 20 years ago, more exciting as well.
I see. Thank you for your answer, but I'd like to follow up with a follow-up question. So you've mentioned how the insurance industry's skills is ever adapting and changing. I'd like to ask what skills or what knowledge or experience do you think is required to join the insurance industry and the skills you think that will maintain and stay within the insurance sector as it ever changes?
That's a very good question. I think you should ask Eric and Damien, but I would assume that in insurance, frankly, like in other sectors like banking that have millions of customers, huge legacy systems, a big need to reinvent themselves for a customer need that really hasn't changed much. You know, people want good advice, want easy processes. If you're a young talent joining insurance today, and you want to make sure that you're not going to be sort of obsolete and you can keep moving, I think one is you have to be open. It's our nature to like comfort zone. We see it in our company. I've seen it in my previous career. You have to be ready to raise your hand and not always be asked to step into a new job. You have to be proactive. And I don't know if we touch about other things that we will talk about, but as much as internet is great, I'm a big believer in reaching out to people, saying, I want to have coffee with you, I want to have lunch with you. That will never go away. Just like in Hong Kong, people love to talk to physical people for insurance. Although it is changing and technology helps, the human aspect doesn't go away. And I think in companies, it's really up to you to reach out to people, there's mentors, all these things, but it's really about knowing what's going on in the other departments. Sometimes you see people sitting literally 10 feet away and they don't really talk and don't really know what's going on. So I think reaching out to other people, I would assume in Damien and Eric's career has played a huge role, and I'm not 100% sure, but I would say it matters.
Yeah, Julian, I agree. The people nature, what I think is special about the insurance industry is, we talk about customers, of course, we're about people and supporting our customers through their lifetimes, but having worked with insurance companies for the last 20 years, the people-to-people connections that you build in these companies, in insurance companies, are tremendous. I dare to say that there's less corporate politics in insurance companies than I've observed in other sectors, in financial services. Which is interesting because most financial services, perhaps not intermediaries, but certainly manufacturers, insurance companies and banks, have a lot of cash, right? Which is a good thing for you if you're looking for stability and the opportunity to work in a position where there is investment in what you're doing, an investment in you, an investment available. You will find that in the insurance sector. There is cash. There's cash available. It's the business model. That doesn't mean that profits aren't measured. They are, and that doesn't mean that they're not squeezed, but there's cash available. What I would say about skills, back to your question, skills. In many respects, insurance is extraordinarily complex. Dare I say, more complex than banking, right? Think about it, right? You make a financial promise to someone for 100 years. You then have to take their premiums and invest those assets in a manner that enables you to fulfill that promise at any particular time that person may call you on it, right? So the complexity of understanding that liability, investing against that liability to ensure you can always, between all of these companies that are represented in this room, millions and millions and millions of customers and policyholders, it's extraordinarily complex. Extraordinarily complex. But I'm living proof that you don't have to bring a set of skills that you already have to the table. What I found with insurance companies is they're learning machines. Everybody's willing to teach. Everybody's willing to teach you. And I was shocked by that when I first joined AIA all those years ago. Was the first company I worked for, AIG. How willing people were just to sit and teach you what they've learned. Teach me about solvency, sitting with a chief actuary and learning those lessons, which you can't learn in one conversation. People are willing to help. Why? You have to, because it's so extraordinarily complex. It needs a million minds. It needs 1,000 minds, people working together and supporting each other. You'll even find it with the regulators who do an extraordinarily important job to ensure we can keep our promises, make sure we're doing things right. There's a level of engagement and partnership between the industry and regulators because we're all working on complex things together. You know, so I think if you want to learn, bring aptitude and attitude to the insurance industry. You don't have to bring, you know, financial analysis skills. You don't have to bring those things. If you want to train to be an actuary, do it because Hong Kong needs more actuaries, right? But that's a hard road to go down, but, you know, we need it. Beyond that, you can enter the industry and you will be taught and you will learn complex things that ultimately will make you a talent that people want, hopefully a leader, and will make you financially comfortable as well as feeling satisfied in the job that you do.
Thank you, Damien. Now, Eric, do you have anything to comment about it?
Just quickly, I agree very much to gentlemen here. And people, when I talk about people or relationship, we are not talking about, you know, how to find your customers. Yeah? I'm talking about how we build the relationships, get the knowledge, get the skills. In insurance industry, Damien is right, we transfer knowledge. Yeah, we transfer knowledge. It's more like an apprenticeship system there. It's unlike banks or, well, we do have traineeship program, of course, but it's unlike that concept. Basically, for general insurance, what we call property and casualty, there's a lot of skills to learn. For example, underwriting, how you see a risk. Yeah, I can give you a live example here. The company that we acquired a long time ago called, yeah, don't mention the name, but anyway, they at the time we sent underwriter to underwrite a very famous ship that sunk, yeah, in the big movie. In the time, our underwriter said that we did not take this risk. Intuitively, he knew that this risk has got something wrong because of, I don't know. But how did he get that skill? At the time, there's no science, no data, nothing, right? But basically, we learn from each other, like in the underwriting skill, what could be going wrong when we assess a risk of something that doesn't look too well. So my point is, in this industry, it's not only talking about hard skill or any so-called soft skill that we train up by lecturers, by training class, but we do pay a lot of attention how to bring up people in terms of knowledge. You know, that's what we call, or I call apprenticeship. But well, at the very beginning, when you enter the company, of course, you have to bring in certain skills. Yeah, that's true. So there are different kinds of skills we require, but don't worry about that. You will develop it over time. But one thing I want you to know is remain open-minded, because in a company like our big companies, we will certainly teach you the skills. And for example, in Zurich, we have this LinkedIn training class. We have a training class with Microsoft to make sure that you are up to date, to learn about AI, to learn about data skills. That's how we are working on, you know, making sure we get the right people with the right skills.
I see. Thank you for your insightful answer. And all this talk about, you know, learning, developing skills within the insurance sector, and then a lot of people in the insurance sector helping you develop them. And all this talk about manpower, I think it ties in very well to our next section of the panel, which is career advice. So, Damien, here's this question for you. How can aspiring professionals in the insurance sector balance the need between technical skills, such as the soft skills of communication, networking, and socializing, and the hard skills, such as others maybe that Eric has mentioned before, within this market?
Yeah, I wish we didn't use the term soft skills, but nevertheless we do, right? Because it suggests that things like communication, collaboration, attitude, presence, all these other things are not important. Actually, from my perspective, soft skills, as we call them, are not negotiable. Not negotiable. And, you know, I've interviewed thousands of people, right? And over the years, I would not hire someone who doesn't show, not necessarily advanced communication skills, but someone who doesn't show an ability to be able to operate in a team, right? I just wouldn't do it. I don't care whether they're a rocket scientist or, you know, an Oxford scholar. I wouldn't do that. People with the right attitude are the people I hire anyway, right? so long as they demonstrate they have aptitude. So soft skills, my advice, career advice is, be who you are. If you're an introvert, that's cool. You don't have to be an extrovert. I am one of those, and trust me, it's not always a fun ride, right? So it's not about being something that you're not, but it's about ensuring that you can interact, relate productively with, over time, with other humans, and with people who you don't necessarily choose to be with every day, right? They say, workplaces are like families, right? You don't choose them, right? The people that you work with. So what I love to see is young people who come into a workplace and start to show leadership, start to build collaborative teams, coalitions of people, which you need in big companies. You need coalitions of people who want to support and help each other to get really difficult, complex, often multidisciplinary problems solved, right? So soft skills rule. If you're a decent person with the ability to interrelate, if you're good socially, all these things, great, excellent. If you're an introvert, that's okay too, but you will have to operate in a team, right? So it's important you know what your story is and that you can operate effectively that way. Having said all of that, back to my previous comment, the ability to learn the hard skills, that we call hard skills, the technical skills, financial, risk, regulatory in particular, learning how to deal with really complex, evolving regulation and things like that, the opportunity to do that in insurance is second to none. And you will be taught, as we've just discussed. I love Eric's comment. There are apprenticeships. We basically have informal apprenticeships and mentorships in insurance. So, focus on the soft skills, be the wonderful person you are, and bring your real self to work every day, tick, most important thing, and then learn. And in insurance, you'll learn more more quickly than in any other field of financial services, in my view.
Well, thank you for the answer. I'm particularly touched by the message of, being true to yourself, which I think applies to everywhere in the entire world, or any sector, no matter what job you become. But I'll just talk about, being an extrovert or introvert and soft skills being non-negotiable. I'm going to skip over to Julian for this question, which is in relation. What are some networking strategies or professional development opportunities that can help certain people who are maybe introverts, who maybe don't socialize that well? How can they build connections and stay informed about the latest trends in the insurance industry?
So again, I think I'll go back to, so I'm not known to be an introvert, but and maybe that helps. But if I recall, when I was probably in the shoes of people who just left school or looking for the first job, something I would do, LinkedIn didn't exist at the time, is just to email people, call offices, ask to speak to people, and try to have some of their time. Now, you think people are busy, but you'd be very surprised how much time people will make for you if you reach out to them and say, I'd like some advice, which usually, ultimately, you're your best advisor, so it's just an excuse to see them and to hear maybe their experience, not so much their advice, because ultimately, what's right for you, they don't have all the pieces, they can only share what worked for them, but you'd be very surprised. I have people, sending me messages on LinkedIn, and I would assure you that if you sent messages to people that you think are very busy, a lot of them would just actually take time to respond. If they don't the first time, you just have to keep going. After 15, 20 times, usually they respond. Okay, so that's the entrepreneur hustle side. But more seriously, I would say, or equally seriously, reach out to people. There's everything. There's more than we need online. Internet has never had so much information as today, and it keeps building, so it's also confusing, I get that. But there's really no excuse. Everything is there, and people will be willing to lend a hand to see you, to grab a coffee. 15 minutes is nothing. We all do it every week, so it's easy to do.
I see. Thank you, Julian, for the answer. And you emailing people to try to get a bit of their time, I think, is a great example of how insurtech or insurance technology has evolved over the years. Now, moving on to Eric, here's a question that I think a lot of students are curious about. What are some of the benefits of pursuing further education or certification in some specialized areas of insurance? because there are some other sectors in the market that may not require a university degree at all. So how important is pursuing a further education within the insurance sector?
Okay, maybe I'll give you my example. Okay, I graduated with a bachelor degree from Chinese University in 18, and then I got my MBA again at Chinese University in 1999. Yeah, and by then I completed the what we call CII, the Charter Insurance Institute Association. By then, and also completed the exam for FLMI, right? The Life Fellow thing. Yeah. So I honestly don't know whether it helps in my career. What I want to share with you is it's good to have some technical knowledge. Yeah, it's good to show to your boss you are ambitious. That's what I want to share with you. Yeah, you know, I mean, if you keep yourself transparent, in Chinese word, Cantonese word we say 等型啊. If you keep yourself away from the picture, nobody will admire your work, right? Nobody will give you a chance to promote. So we have to tell people, or tell ourselves, by the way, it's a self-actualization process, to move yourself up. You know, I want to learn more, I can do more, I can help the company, and this is the reason to me for having more education or more specialized study. Yeah, but I don't think at this point of time, at your level, you don't need to worry about that. You will naturally find out what fits you, what you need in terms of specialized training or examination or certificates. Don't worry about that. But I want to echo what Damien just said. It is a soft skill, or maybe it's a mindset. It's a mindset. It's how you work with people, how you be accountable, how you be showing your eagerness to learn. You know, I think that's the key point if you want to pursue further study.
Thank you for the answer. Now, I've actually got a follow-up question about it. So you've mentioned that these certifications may not have helped you overall in your career, but they do show ambition to your boss. Now, a question directed at Eric and maybe Damien and Julian: how important do you think are these accomplishments or credentials to get? And most importantly, how can these credentials support your career development overall? Should you try get them just to prove ambition, or should you focus on other topics or other areas of focus?
I'll jump in. So firstly, I think academic achievement and certification is important, and clearly, particularly in this city, that's well understood by young people. I worry that it's too much understood and people put themselves under too much pressure. It's my personal point of view there, but clearly the base education is important. Beyond that, I love what Eric says. You know, it's what you learn on, what did they say? You know, Mike Tyson famously said, you know, everyone's got a plan until I punch them in the mouth, right? About his boxing opponent. So you don't really start learning until you're in the battlefield. You're dealing with everyday problems. I think one of the most important things you get from the academic rigor that you're subjected to is problem solving and collaboration. You know, not problem solving alone as a single hero. Companies are not looking for superstars. They're not looking for Superman or Superwoman. I can assure you, mostly we are not looking for that person. We don't want that person. We want someone who can operate effectively, outstandingly in a team, showing personal leadership. And leadership doesn't mean having the word boss behind your name. It means being an active, contributory member of an effective team, a good person who's learning and working, right? So my advice is, when you're ready to go work. Go work. Don't stress about becoming an AVP or whatever it is within 3 years, or a vice president. Who cares? Go work. Get a job in an insurance company. Fortunately, in Hong Kong, we've got a massive, prestigious insurance sector that offers thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs. Get your way in. I don't think that will be hard for many of the people in this room, if not everybody, and work and learn and build relationships and understand what you love about the industry and the direction that you wish to take within the industry. So I think the implication of Eric's remark is, you know, get there, get your qualifications, get those letters behind your name if you wish, but work and experience real problems working with real teams in real environments, live environments where the risks are real and the stakes are high, and that's how you're going to develop, right? So I wish you all the best in accelerating yourself into the front line and get to work. That's the most important thing.
Thank you for the answer, and I think all this talk about getting in the battlefield and just, you know, start work immediately maybe makes me think it's a very upwards, very struggling climb to the top. So Julian, a question for you. Can you share a success story of an individual who has navigated the, you know, the changing landscape or the battlefield of the insurance sector and has achieved career growth and fulfillment? And what lessons can what lessons can be learned from the experience of such individual?
Sure.
You can't talk about yourself.
No,
oh, yeah.
But I don't have to look too far. So I think there's two right here. There's a few more in the room that I saw. I can talk about whether they feel it's fulfilling. I can say they've grown and clearly been successful. It's up for them to say. But I think anyone who's been in insurance for 20, 30 years has navigated a changing landscape by definition. I can't imagine they've had less than 6 or 8 or 10 different jobs to become CEO or chairman of a company across Asia or in Greater China and Hong Kong. So that by itself, I encourage you to look at their profiles, to talk to them. That's, I think, already something right there. Now, don't forget that Hong Kong is, as Damien said, an amazing place for insurance. We're lucky to have some of the biggest insurance companies actually headquartered in Hong Kong. There's a bunch of great insurtechs. There are people really trying to improve, to push themselves, to make the sector go forward, get better with better practices. So, you know what these very big insurance companies are. For others, like David, AXA, it's their third biggest life market in the world. It's a very important market, Hong Kong, for most insurers. We don't realize, even if they're not based here, but based in Europe, Zurich, I assume it's a very important market as well. So, what I would say is, I can talk about myself, but there's a number of people who either join insurance after 5-10 years in another industry. Maybe a case, Damien, I'm not sure if you had worked elsewhere before, but could be the case. Some people start as an actuary and end up spending 30-35 years, great career progression like Eric. It's really an industry where you don't have to ask yourself too many questions. Some people join in marketing, some people join in tech, and as much as they're hungry and open, there's boundless opportunities. So I think people have to feel very relaxed with the fact that the opportunities are there. If I look at myself, when I was in university, insurance was one of the 2 industries I was interested in, mostly because I wanted to live abroad. I think something we didn't touch upon today is be open to moving abroad. I think there's an amazing industry in Hong Kong. You shouldn't be too comfortable. It's not because your family is here that there's a great industry that you don't have to be open to a year stint in Dubai, in London, in New York, anywhere. Take these opportunities because I guarantee you'll be a better professional as a result of it. Personally, in the first part of my career, I dealt with entrepreneurs in Europe, oil and gas people in the US, and wealthy entrepreneurs in private banking in China. And I think when you look at the consistency, you think it doesn't make any sense, but when you look at today, what I do is how I'm able to embrace different situations, enter into different markets or do things I hadn't done before, it does give me that confidence, and I think it's very important. So be open to moving abroad, and all of the players in Hong Kong, the great companies we have in insurance, do have an international footprint, and if you're doing well, we'll be very open probably to having you do stints abroad.
Can I just, sorry, thank you, Blue. I really want to underscore this last point that Julian's made, which I think, firstly, I was going to make that point, you stole it from me. So, but really well said, international, global, be prepared to move. What's really interesting about the development of a good part of the insurance sector globally is that they're international companies. a company like Zurich is, I don't know how old, but hundreds of years old, right? And these are epic companies. That the company that I work for is, the best part of 150 years old, right? And they've operated in many different countries over time and continue to today. And even though insurance is local, ironically, and for a whole lot of reasons, which we could discuss if we had more time, they've become very, very adept global companies. And then if we zero into Asia, the development of insurance in Asia, headquartered out of Hong Kong largely, has been profound, particularly in the last 50 years. Hong Kong is a headquarters for global insurance companies and now has its own, I think, 3 insurance companies that are domiciled in Hong Kong, AIA, Prudential, and FWD, which I think we're all proud of, is truly one of the world's true pure insurance hubs. I think London's got a claim because of its background in special risk and general insurance and Lloyd's and all these things. But so I often get disappointed, having run large companies here, at the lack of willingness of Hong Kong talent to move to other countries. And why would you? Hong Kong's such a great city, right? Why would you move from Hong Kong to go and do a stint in Myanmar or Indonesia? But the people who go and do these things, I've done it. I ran a large company in South Korea, and actually right around Asia, I've run companies. But the people who do it end up being really fulfilled and really hot property for employers. You can demonstrate that you've had some journey across different markets. It really makes you desirable. To come back here to Hong Kong and get employed by one of these big companies in their head office or in their large Hong Kong franchise or whatever, right? So underscore that and really well said, be prepared to move and see insurance as being, along with banking, but even more so, I think, because the talent pool's smaller that's available to insurance companies. Be prepared to move and know that insurance really does offer that opportunity to be mobile, globally mobile, which I kind of think is cool. It's something that you should struggle with as well.
Well, thank you for the answer, and I think Julian's answer about move abroad, be open to moving abroad, and your answers to the same answer as him. It brings me to a question that my friend has actually begged me to ask all of you, and most importantly, Eric. Now, my friend in the UK is studying data analytics and risk management, and he wanted me to ask, well, ideally with every one of you, but for you, Eric, how important is data analytics in assessing risk and driving decision-making processes in modern insurance practices?
Yep, I'm welcoming a friend to send me a CV. I think he expects this one, yeah? So in Zurich, Hong Kong, we have, or in the whole company, I would say, we have a lot of data scientists. A lot. Even in our company, I think we have more than 10. And also other actuaries, yeah? I don't know who is the undertaking actuarial science. I think data is always important for insurance industry. It's not just for modern or not. And I just talk about some intuitive apprenticeship-based learning, right, in underwriting when we are accepting a risk. But through the process in the past century, I would say we have been accumulating a lot of data. And recently, because of AI, and so all this tech advancement, we are making more use of data, okay? And I would say data is very useful for 2 parts. We have some very good outstanding companies sitting in the front line using data for managing customer experience, yeah? How we make sure that UI, UX is right, yeah? How we make sure that the SEM, SEO is working, is optimized. This kind of data is tremendously important for effectiveness or efficiency for a company. And the second part is the technical core part for insurance. That is how we do the pricing, how we do the risk accumulation thing, how we assess so-called how to build a risk model. Yeah, that's something very important. Back to the first part of UI UX, I want to emphasize that this is skill transferable. It's not only for insurance, it's also for other industries. That's why you don't need to think about whether the bank pay more or the insurers pay more. Indeed, we are also having people come joining us from banks or people joining banks, okay? These are some very transferable skills. For the use of data, that's a bit more technical because for insurers, there are two core competence. One is underwriting and one is claims. They involve a lot of technical learning, technical skills. So for underwriting, we need lots of use of data and to build a risk model, to do the pricing, etc. But one thing that insurers are very proud of, or when you join insurance, you should be very proud of, we make use of data to contribute. I can tell you in the past century, insurers have been paying a lot of catastrophic losses on Earth. Okay, that's the real sustainability business that we are achieving. It's not like green loans, or it's not like that. We are actually helping people, economy, to reinstate their condition, battling against climate risk. We have been there, but we have got a lot of data there, and that's why, you know, for all of us here, the leaders here, we've been talking a lot about how to use of insurance to be more sustainable in terms of people living, in terms of economy for SMEs or large corps. So this is the better use of data for the whole community.
All right, well, thank you for your answer, and I'll tell my friend he's got a good shot then, I guess. So moving on, I think we'd like to move on to the next section, which is any questions that the audience would like to ask all three of our panelists. If you do, please raise your hand and I will pass over the mic to you if anyone does. Well,
I've got a question for the audience.
oh, go for it.
Is that okay? Sorry to go off script.
Oh, no, no
But
worries.
I'm not gonna cold call anyone because it's not fair, right? If you were my team, I'd do it. I'd do it for sure. But show of hands, who's interested in leadership in the corporate world? Right. Yeah. It's nice to see, and you don't have to be, by the way. Not everybody. I think we'd have a problem, right? Insurance and leadership, and I'd be fascinated to hear your comments, Blue, about leadership and what that means to you as a potential future kind of professional contributor, as well as my colleagues here. But insurance offers, there are plenty of opportunities for leadership in insurance companies. You know, I ran Manulife Asia, right, across 16 countries, and the biggest talent problem that we had was finding general managers, finding good CEOs. Really hard to do, and you may be surprised by that. You say, well, you employ hundreds of thousands of people. We're looking for qualities, specific qualities, some of which I mentioned earlier. Willingness to be portable, right? That mindset of being able to deal with different environments and change and all that sort of thing. So I think if you're aspiring to corporate leadership, learning to be a manager, the insurance industry offers plenty of opportunities, and we've all said plenty of training and nurturing to get there. And you know, I've run 4 large insurance companies, and you know, they're not easy jobs. But people say, well, how did you do that? You know, I said, well, I just put my hand up and said, I'll do that. You know, I'll go to South Korea, sure. You know, and run a broken company or whatever. I'll do that and fix it. So be careful what you wish for if you do that, because it's likely to happen if you've got all of these attributes that myself and my esteemed colleagues have been talking about today. So yeah, leadership.
Well, thank you for the answer. And do you have a comment, Julian?
So,
Go for it.
When you said about the leadership, you mentioned that there's no need to doing a leader in a team, but how can we develop our leadership skills by not selecting as a leader?
It's both. I mean, I'd love for these experienced gentlemen to jump in, but just quickly from me, for a team to be successful in complex environments, so with complex problems that are every problem in insurance has a financial, a technological, a regulatory, a community, a communications, a reputational implication, right? Such that the board of directors might be interested in it if it has gravity, right? We're not so much looking for someone who says, I've got all the answers, I'm going to call the shots. When I talk about leadership, broadly speaking, I'm looking at everybody. How do you take on the accountability to contribute to this team in a way that is sustainable and getting the best out of all of your colleagues? Beyond that, management, of course you do need to have management. That's an important element of running an organisation sustainably. You need management. And a leader of leaders is basically a glib way of saying what most companies are looking for these days, a leader of leaders, people who empower people, etc. So it's both. Good news is you can learn to be a leader even if you're not one by showing leadership, right? Yeah.
No, because now I wanted to steal your... So I wanted to ask people if anyone wants to be an entrepreneur, and not just in insurance, but an entrepreneur in Hong Kong. I'm just curious to see...
Oh,
okay,
Lord.
wow, okay, there you go. All right, and that's, you made my day, okay? So I think, you know, your career can be many things. You can work as an employee for the longest time, have a phenomenal career, and you can, by the way, manage tons of people, make a lot of money. It's possible. Or stay in a more, you know, stable sort of growth or lateral growth. You can also be an entrepreneur. And I think, let's not forget that every company started, that we talk about here, because one guy had an idea, and whether it went outbound from Hong Kong or, you know, internationally, Zurich to Hong Kong, that's also very important. So I'm particularly very keen in seeing also people work in bigger companies and at some point say, hey, I think I can do something. You don't have to think, and it's great if you do, I want to build a 1, 10, 100 million company, that's my EBITDA, this is great. Having a number of employees is great, and that's also important, but most importantly, when people start and say, I want to build a great company to me is a company that has a purpose, where your employees are happy to go and feel part of something special, and you have happy clients, and you make a profit every year. That's hopefully something that will change Hong Kong for the better too.
Okay, well, thank you for that great answer. I'm sure people here feel inspired by it. But all that, with you mentioning how you should create a wonderful work environment, and Damien talking about, whoa, my mind, sorry. Damien talking about a lot. All right. Well, oh, sorry. Your question about leadership. Well, my experience with leadership is, you know, seeing the difference between a boss and a leader. Seeing how maybe in group projects, one person would tell everyone else, you know, oh, you'll have to do this, you'll have to do that, versus another group leader who was actively participating in it, actively not telling them what to do, but suggesting to, hey, I think you should change this, or maybe let's go with a different direction on that. I think these differences are what qualifies between a boss and a leader, and well, I guess we'll see.
Well said, Blue, and you should put him on your list, Eric,
Yes.
because he's clearly
Great.
hiring.
Yeah, I want to echo your point. I actually, yes, stolen a lot of my words, but of course I won't use mine again. Boss and leaders. We also talk about entrepreneurs. Indeed, there are many, you know, theories, books talk about the difference. But I just want to mention one word that's from my own interpretation, called versatility. We have to be very versatile, very adaptable to different culture, different setting, different economic environment, different regulations, different people, you know. Even when I think, you know, Damien, Julian, and I, when we talk to you, we are using the appropriate style to speak to you. We may be using other style to speak to our colleagues, you know, for some different purpose, right? So I'll say what we have to learn, as you are new blood in the society, is to learn how, I would say it's still so-called soft skill, but you have to learn to be more versatile, to know when you will use a more bossy style, when you would use a more entrepreneurial mindset, or when you'll be using a more leadership traits for managing a more diverse team. Yeah, that's my recommendation.
Well, thank you for that answer. And does anyone else have any questions? Because if not, I actually have another one myself, directed at all three of you. So we've talked a lot about the manpower in the insurance sector. So how overcrowded do you think the potential recruits or potential people who want to get into the insurance sector is? Do you think, you know, there's not enough people? You know, are you constantly hiring, or is there too many and you can, you know, slowly take your pick out of the cherry tree? So any one of you, if you want to answer.
Start first. So I'm working for the Federation, and we keep talking about insufficient manpower. Okay, but this is a very vague comment, because in insurance we have different functions, different disciplines, different size of company, you know, different lines of business. So it really depends on what we talk about. But overall, yes, we are suffering from insufficient manpower. But this is something could be a vicious circle. You know, if you keep doing like that, we can't be doing what we just talked about, how to expand our industry, how to make ourselves even bigger, stronger risk management center, for example. So I really look to you all to think about how you or how you influence your friends to think about how the insurance industry will fit you or fit your friends. And we do need a lot of new blood to learn, as we talk about a lot, right? How to learn the skills and then develop your career, develop a network, and you will be someone, be it leading or be it policy, but you will get your career there. And I think the advantage here is if we are not overcrowded, there are actually more opportunities for you. Yeah, that's my view. Yeah.
Well, thank you for the answers. That was really wonderful. I mean, it gives a lot of my friends, I'm going to tell them and I'm going to say, hey, you know, it's not overcrowded. Go get some. Go send your CVs to everyone. Now, does anyone else have another question they thought up of? Because if not, then I'm going to ask another one for our final question then. So, Damien, you've talked a lot about, you know, getting into the insurance sector and how people will help you a lot. And I'm sure Eric and Julian has talked about how, you know, there's a lot of people who will help you develop your skills as you go along. I think a question for all the students here is, how do we get into these mentorships? How do we network? What's the correct way to network, or what's the best way to network to find these mentors that will help you in the insurance sector?
Go ahead, please. Be yourself. I see a lot of graduates, for example, that joining these companies that I've had the pleasure of working with over many years across many countries, put too much pressure on themselves. Right? Got to accelerate. Got to get promoted. You should work hard. Right? That's the rule. Work hard and care about what you do to get your paycheck, because it's not a right to collect a paycheck. Work hard for it. Beyond that, be you. You know, you don't have to be someone who is shining the shoes of the boss, right? You don't have to be that person. Other people will do that. I hope I don't offend anyone here, but normally Harvard Business School graduates, right? It's not about politics. It's not about who you get to know. It's about showing everybody's extraordinary, right? Everybody's unique. You're all extraordinary. Show that side. And the great thing is, particularly in Hong Kong, there's a universal embrace for diversity, right? Age, gender, sexuality, everything, right? Ethnicity, whatever, belief. So be yourself is the best way to get to know people and help people. Put your hand out. Don't sit behind your monitor or wherever you've been put and think this is all about me. Help people. Go out of your way to help and build cordial relationships and friendships. That would be my advice. I'm not going to say, make sure you go down the list of all the networking functions and things like that. I mean, I never did that. You know, I just tried to be a good person at work and a good teammate and managed to get a bit of support that way. That would be my honest advice.
Well, thank you, Damien, for your answer. And I'm sorry, Julian, but I'm afraid we're just about to run out of time. So firstly, I'd like to thank all three of you. Oh, okay. Well, I'd like to thank Julian, Eric, Damien. Thank you so much for joining us in this panel. And I think the photographer would like to get one more photo of us.
Isn't one enough?
Oh, well, I don't know.